select STC.
Sound muted. Sound resumed.
Yep.
You were poked.
Have you found it, lad?
Yeah, getting that.
You still stuck it, Tom?
Got it.
Who do I whisper to?
Tom, mate.
Tom, okay.
What's happening about Tom?
He loves boys.
Sorry?
Who's connected to who in RTT then?
I'm connected to you and to Cam. So.
Ah.
You were poked.
So whenever I see, yes, Cam, I can't whisper back yet. But so then whenever I can see you're not pushing the accelerator to the bottom, I will shout at you.
Fine. So have you got someone's RTT then, Nathan? So have you got someone's RTT then, Nathan? So have you got someone's RTT? You can't join someone else's RTT?
No.
No whisper target found.
Hey?
But I will keep them posted.
That sounds weird.
I'm going to put Tom on a whisper, so if I need any information for you, Dave, I can talk to him without interrupting you.
Yeah, good stuff, mate.
How long have we got to recording?
You press the pause button there. Nico, I see it.
How long have we got to recording?
23 minutes.
So that's the right time in game then?
It should be.
Well, I'm going to the toilet anyway.
Servers up, guys.
Hang on, one at a time. Nico.
It's 214-212-545.
Got it. Yep. Just load in RTT.
Yes, Nathan.
Okay.
Yes, I'm seeing this. Yeah, it's about the same as PSR TV.
Right, Miko. It still says unknown game. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know why.
Then it works.
Yeah, network client. No. Hang on.
Can you?
Oh, hang on. I went to standalone and then I moved it back to client, and it works. See. Cool.
I'm sure everybody wants to, so put it everywhere.
That's weird. I get different readings from Canon from Ben, so
No whisper target found.
someone not on the server then, maybe?
Ben's not in the server.
Yeah, I'm hearing myself again an echo. That's weird.
Good luck, guys.
Sound muted. Microphone muted. You were poked. 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 User joined your channel. Sound
Hey.
microphone activated.
Nico. Yep.
You were moved. User joined your channel.
You want to enter any special channel or? No, because I'm watching the broadcast and I see you trying to enter channel, so I can move you if you want. You tell me where do you want to go. I don't know if Eckhart will come. Oh, not. Okay. No, I only commentate when I have to. I don't like it. Okay. Yo, bye.
User left your channel. Channel switched. Sound muted. Microphone muted. User joined your channel. You were poked. Sound resumed. Microphone activated.
No, Miko. Ekar wants to commentate. But he can't enter the server. I have to kick somebody from the server because there is 30 people inside. But will be a delay. There will be a delay. So yeah, I will kick one spectator that there is. It's anonymous, so nobody can blame me. And spectators are not okay in the server. Usually it used to lag. So sorry, spectator, I kick you. Oh, you are the spectator? Ah, okay. No, I kick somebody that entered as a spectator.
User left your channel. User joined your channel. Microphone sound resumed.
Okay, I move you to the broadcast room, Miko, together with Ekar.
Okay, I'm in.
User was moved out of your channel. User joined your channel.
Ekar will be back in a second.
Okay.
User was moved out of your channel. User left your channel. Microphone sound muted. You were poked.
do come. Hello, I'm talking like this. Hello, I'm using the whisper button because I don't want to be talking while I'm already on air. And you never know when you're on air, don't you? Well, I have no idea how Jose does this, honestly. He just tells me, this is, we are live on air now, and then I just start talking. That's it, I have no idea. Oh well, fair enough. Can you hear me on the whisper, Miko? Aha. Okay. So the field is on the way. And yes, I hear myself talking on the internet, so that means we are on air, and this is the STC, brought to you tonight by Mikko Korkiakowski of Team Flatout, Game Racer Flatout. Thank you very much, Mikko. I'm afraid you can't hear Mikko on the air. That's something we didn't quite solve in the very short time we had, but Mikko has set up this live stream, so, and Race Control told me, why not do that live stream? And here we are then. It's STC night, and we are at Most in the Czech Republic. David Garcia and Pace Car is out there doing the outlap, and Team Blue Flag again has a bad day because I see that Theo De Bruyne is stuck in the pits. Obviously he didn't make it to the grid on time, and that of course is not the way it was planned. The way it was planned was for Ben Tusting, because he is sitting pretty on pole position in position number 1 for Team Game Racer Flat Out in the Königsegg, and Göran Johansson is in position number 2 for Team Gubbklubben. And then in position number 3 we have Risto Carpet for Game Racer Flat Out as well. Position number 4, it is the first of the Black Rebels, Grégory de Greve. Position number 5, that is the first of the Flying Dutchman cars, Jacob de Boer. And then position number 6, Kane Lasky for Torrent Motorsports, followed by Dinka Andre in the car that won the last meet in the Water Blue Racing Pagani Zonta. Then Bosse Jonasson, he is also with Gubbklubben, of course, in position number 8. Position number 9, Wesley Hartog for Flying Dutchman Development. Position number 10, Andreas Löffler. And that's your top 10, because the top players are moving out onto the start and finish straight any moment. So we should go back to the top, where Ben Tusting is waiting for David Garcia to move into the pit lane. And this is what Garcia does right now. Garcia is out, and that is how it should be, and Tusting is now the one who is about to set the pace. He is followed by Göran Johansson, and brilliant start by Tusting. Johansson follows him down the straight. Already a gap there for Tusting, so he should have no problems whatsoever in the brake zone. Flying Dutchman car goes out onto the right hand side but stays behind. De Grave with a little touch there to Risto Carpet, but everything clear in the first positions. Tusting with a brilliant start, with a good lead here to Johansson as they head into the first couple of turns here at Most, as I said, in the Czech Republic, just outside the little town of Most. A track that's mainly used for truck racing and for motorbikes, but also for cars. Tonight it's used by the STC, the Sim Racing Team Challenge. And out goes Ben Tusting onto the straight, the next one, and Göran Johansson is feeling the heat of Risto Carpet. Risto Carpet very close to Johansson indeed. There we have Risto Carpet, and Johansson trying to shake him off as Tusting is moving away a little. Track is damp again, doesn't seem to be a dry track in the STC this season. It's just a little damp, so I suppose everybody's out on dries. Should be the same for everyone here, and I don't think anybody is out here on wets. In the background you could just see a castle there that is in real life one of the sites here in the north of Czechoslovakia. It's actually quite near to the German border, so if you live somewhere in the area around Dresden or around Chemnitz, you should be kind of neighbors to this track. Lap number 1 is over. Tusting in the lead, Johansson in 2, Risto Carpet in 3, and Grégory de Grave in 4, followed by position number 5 by Jacob de Boer, and Jacob de Boer is closely, very, very closely followed by Kane Lasky in the Gumpert Apollo for Torrent Motorsports. Kane Lasky very close behind Jacob de Boer here as they head down towards the hairpin. That is one of the most difficult parts of the track. It's essential to get the power down, and Lasky is sliding as he tries to do so. And the exit speed here of Jacob de Boer was much, much, much better as they now head into a rather sharp turn. You can actually go on the curbs here. There's no infringement there, but the car is very unstable if you do. And then they go out. There's a sharp right-hander now, and there was a crash just in front of them. There was a little crash between De Grave and between Risto Carpet, but both cars still in the game, both cars still moving, and Kane Lasky here taking advantage of a cut that you are able to do with no warning, but again the curbs are very, very slippery if you get on them, so especially with damp track you're well advised to stay clear of them. You can see that, you know, everybody's behavior here. Look at that, they don't touch the curbs if they can. Lasky now goes out on the curbs as they head onto the straight, but curbs are very, very, very dangerous indeed here at Most, and especially so if it is slippery. Well, with everybody settled in positions number 1, 2, 3 and 4, we should have a first quick rundown of the field to show our viewers where everybody is. I suppose we're in position number 5 right now. And cameraman tells me we aren't. Mikko, where are we? Okay, it tells me we're doing a reverse rundown, and he now tells me which position we find ourselves in. P16, we are now with David Clark. David Clark of Team Flat Out Club, Game Racer Flat Out Club Junior Team, also in the Koenigsegg. So that means we've taken care of positions 17, 18, 19, 20, and so on, all the way down to 23. And at 16, David Clark, qualification saw him in 17, so he must have moved up a position somewhere. Position number 15. It's Fortunato Fiorito for the course online, who is fighting here with one of the Flying Dutchman guys. And that is the guy in position 14, that is Martin Krijnbrink. And Fiorito very close, following Krijnbrink here down the long straight at Most. Position number 14, Krijnbrink, and we move up to position number 13. In 13 we find Carlos Costa of AB Racing. And he has just passed the very tight chicane, which, I repeat myself, has a nice curb on the outside, but mind you, it is very slippery indeed, especially in conditions like this. So Carlos Costa is well advised, as he did, to stay shy of that curb there. And he is following the second of the Torrent guys, and that is in position number 12, Matthias Klein. He's taken the green Gumpert Apollo, whereas Kane Leski is in the red one. Both of them running with the number 13, so I hope there's no bad luck attached to that number. I hope that both the Torrent cars will make it through the night here at Virtual Most. Position number 11, and there we find Kenny Persson of Team Guppklubben UD, of the junior team of Guppklubben in another one of the Gumpert Apollos. Position number 10 is Dino Paolini, who is hot on the heels of one of the Flying Dutchman development Audis. Paolini in the white version of the Water Blue Racing Zonta. In position number 9, that's the guy he's following with the number 12 for Flying Dutchman development, and now about to be overtaken by Paolino. Paolini trying to make a move here as they head into that right-hander. He can't, because it's really difficult to squeeze past here, but it looks as if Hartog is definitely blocking the way here, and I see in the background Krzysztof Babic already has to let people pass, is already being lapped for Team Blue Flag Racing, and decided to go out on the grass and let the whole group pass, so there is no incident here at Moss. Wesley Hartog still defending position number 9, still defending against Dino Paolini, and it looks as if Paolini really can find no way past Hartog, at least at this point. So let's move up one position in the grid to position number 8. Andreas Löffler up 2 places from starting position 10 he is, and he is following a Guppklubben guy. Löffler now in the penultimate turn, and now out onto the curbs and into the very, very last turn, and taking the Matic Ford out onto the start and finish. Position number 7, that is Bosse Jonasson, also moving up 1 position from the start. So somebody from the top 8 or so must be missing. Bosse Jonasson in 7 for Guppklubben, so they again, if they can stick to those positions, will have a very, very good team result. Then in 6, it's Kane Leski, as we mentioned earlier on, and Kane Leski is still following position number 5, Jacob de Boer for Flying Dutchman Racing. And they are... Ooh, and Kane Lesky does have some problems getting out of that hairpin there. Whereas De Boer shows some very, very clean exit lines here in the damp conditions at Most. In 4, Gregory de Greef for the Black Rebels, mentioned him earlier. And that means that we're getting closer to solving the problem. Who is the guy missing from the top spots? And it's Dinka Andre. Dinka Andre, who was in 7 in the qualification or after qualification, definitely lost positions because he's not in the top 8 or 7 anymore. In 3, we find Risto Carpet. Risto of Game Racer flat out, and he is still following Mr. Göran Johansson extremely closely. It looks as if Carpet is just a wee bit faster and is held up a little by Göran. But there you go, it's a tight track. I wonder how these trucks make it round here. It's a tight track, so Carpet really has to wait and bide his time, wait for that mistake that Johansson is bound to make sooner or later in the damp conditions, and Carpet has to be 100% sure that he is there the moment Johansson makes the mistake, and he is there to take advantage of just that mistake. So in position number 2, as I said, Göran Johansson, and already with a sizable gap to the race leader, Ben Tusting. And Ben Tusting for Game Racer flat out, he has set the fastest time in qualification and he is leading the race tonight. He is taking advantage of that cut there across the curbs. He's staying well in control of his Koenigsegg as he heads now into the last 2 turns here. And it's a pity, the turns on this track have no names, so all I can tell you is this is the last turn or this is the second turn. I will at this point mark them on my map here of the track, so I suppose we should follow Ben Tusting round the track to give you a final overview of the track to make you accustomed with the track. You go down the straight, then there's the first chicane here, T1 and T2. Then you have a very long right-hander, which is a T3 leading downhill into T4 and 5, which is another left-right combination. Then we have T6, another right-hander, very slow here, and be careful with the curb. Then we have 7, 8 and 9, and T9 is that hairpin at the end of the downhill section. No, it's not the end of the downhill section, you actually still go downhill. There's a fast left-hander now. And then it's an almost 90-degree turn right, and Tusting a bit out here, but still very much in control. Then you go under the bridge into a fast right-hander again, out on another left-hander. There's the cut here, right, and you head out onto the curbs. There's a very narrow point here. Turn looks very easy to take, but it's so narrow that if you just mistake it a little, you're on the grass, and then it's the penultimate turn. It's like a double right at the very end here with the pit lane entry, and then it's the final turn, it's another right-hander, and out you go again onto the straight. It's a lovely, lovely track at Most, all nice and flowy kind of track, and calls for a very, I would say, a very wingy setup. Thank you, Miko. Yeah, Miko just told me that it's a... I was just telling you about the setup, and I heard Miko on my headphone saying, yes, Eckhart, you're right. So yes, that's what I was thanking him for, and it tells us that Flatout is indeed using a rather conservative, rather wing-prone setup here. There are straights in between the turns, of course, as they usually are, but the turns are so important, especially getting down the speed as you head out onto these little straights and then try to get as much out of the little straight as possible. So I don't know what the wing numbers here are, but they should be rather high. And testing now with what I would call a comfortable lead to Göran Johansson, who still has a hard time there in position number 2, fighting with Risto Carpet. From time to time, Johansson can slip away a little, as Risto Carpet's pace is a little more erratic than Göran's, and right now we seem to have one of these times where Göran is a little away, but ever again, Carpet can close the gap by being especially late on the brake, by having an especially good exit speed, and so he manages to stay just behind Göran Johansson here at Most. And I'm talking to my cameraman now, but everybody can hear it. So, cameraman, the biggest fight is in position 9, 10 and 11, where the camera should be, where Wesley Hartog is... and they're passing Kane Lesky. Kane Lesky was out. Kane Lesky had a bit of a slide there. He drops 5 positions. Wesley Hartog now in 8. For Flying Dutchman development, and he is leading a string of drivers here. He is leading Dino Paolini for Waterloo Racing in position number 9. He is leading Kenny Persson for Gubbklubben UD in 10. He is leading Kane Lesky, who was out right now. In 11, he's leading Lesky's teammate Matthias Klein, and he's also leading Martin Kreinbrink in 13. So that is your closest fighting group here on the grid at the moment, and the closest fight indeed seems to be Paolini against Wesley Hartog. These two race-on cars here, the Audi... Oh, and now Paolino slips past because Hartog got on the outside there just a little too much at the exit of that chicane. As I told you, if you get on the curb, you're in deep, deep trouble, and this is just what happened to Hartog. There was no way he could step onto the throttle because he knew he was on the curves, and it would have been disaster to step on the throttle, whereas Paolini stuck to the grey stuff, stepped on the throttle, and he moved past in an absolutely excellent move. And just a bit further down the field, just one position further down, we see Kane Lesky trying to make a move on Kenny Persson. They go downhill. Lesky very, very, very late on the brake. Persson trying to fight back. He's now on the better side. It's the right-hander. Ooh, they touch there. Lesky misses his brake point just, but stays in control, and Persson, obviously a bit ruffled by that touch, stays well out of danger there, doesn't make a second move on Lesky, has to regain his rhythm, and is now under attack by Matthias Klein. Matthias Klein moving in very close. Apollos here fighting for 11-12. Gubbklubben UD, Kenny Persson in 11, and Matthias Klein for Torrent Motorsports in 12. And we have in 13 Martin Kreinbrink being the onlooker here, seeing what happens and hoping to make a move on either one of the two. But it looks as if Kenny Persson has regained his stride, has regained his speed, is back in the rhythm, back in the flow, and can keep Matthias Löffler at bay. Matthias Klein even at bay just a little bit longer. Sorry, Andreas, for borrowing your name. Yeah, it's nice to see all these Gumpert Apollos there together on the track. Really calls for a Gumpert Cup to watch them here. And again, we see Kane Lesky with some serious sliding here as he gets out of the hairpin. More often than not, he can control it. It seems that once he couldn't control it because that was exactly where he had to leave the track. Lesky now in position number 10. He has moved away a little from the following Gupklubben Gumpert, and he has now set his sights for sure on position number 9 on Wesley Hartog. Hartog in turn, as we saw, had to let Paolini go, and he now has a lot of trouble because clearly on the grid Kane Lasky was much faster than Wesley, no, not much, but definitely faster than Wesley Hartog, and so he's making a move. He's showing himself in the rear view mirror, trying to make Hartog a bit nervous here. And now they're both exiting. Hartog again out on the curbs there, relying on one way or the other. He's still able to put the power down. And then they move into that left-right, left hairpin combination, which you basically take flowing. Go with the flow is the motto definitely in that combination. Hartog now into the hairpin, and Kane Lasky out of the hairpin, again a bit erratic, bit all over the place, but very, very fast as he gets out there. So I suppose we will see a move by Kane Lasky on Wesley Hartog in the next 1 or 2 minutes. Ooh, serious cut here by Lasky, but you can get away with it at that part. I don't really think it gives you that much speed. I just think it makes the car very, very unstable. But Lasky decides... Miko tells me it is actually a good place if you're in control of what you're doing, if you're fully sure of how the race on game will react to what you're doing to your virtual car here, and then it's safe to cut. But for all those of us who are not fully in control, it is indeed a place where either you save a lot of time or you're bound to lose a lot of time, since the re-entry to the grey stuff, in my opinion, can be rather abrupt. But there you go, Kane Lasky seems to be in control. He does take the cut a lot, and it does seem to help him getting closer and closer and closer to Wesley Hartog. And now into the hairpin again. Let's see how Lasky does the exit here. He's taking a very, very tight line, quite different. There's a touch behind there, and there's Matthias Klein losing a position to Martin Kreinbrink and trying to regain... Nope. I thought he would try to regain the position, and he was nipped. He was overtook by Kreinbrink in exactly the same position where Lasky had the problems earlier on. So that seems to be a weak spot of the Gumpert Apollos here. Everybody's doing the cut as they go across here, and towards the final turns they go. Right, and Miko, if you care to go down a bit further down the grid, we have an interesting group in 15, 16 and 17. It's your junior teammate, David Clark, in 15, moving up from 17 on the starting position. And he's followed by both of the Course Online guys, Fortunato Fiorito in 16 and Stefano Lignani in 17. And they in turn, all three of them, follow ABR player Carlos Costa, but he's a little bit away. But the big fight here is between David Clark and the two Course Onlines following him, taking turns actually to try and make a move on David Clark. But as I said earlier, it is really, really difficult, and you do have to be very patient here at Most. You can see the marks here in the hairpin. People have had trouble here. It's a difficult part of the track, and now they are out into the flowy bit. First left-hander, the one where you should not cut, and then Clark seems to be a bit slower in these passages, whereas if he goes out onto the straight, he is a bit faster than either Fiorito or Lignani. Fiorito, just to remind you, is in 16 and Lignani in 17. Right, Miko just tells me that Koenigsegg has the second best top speed here on the grid, whereas the Audi pretty much has the slowest top speed of all the race-on builds. But right now he's in the slipstream. Fiorito is in the slipstream, and he might get close enough at the end of the start and finish straight. They move into the brake zone. Fiorito has to break off the maneuver, but it of course helps to make Clark just that little bit nervous, and that might be just the little amount of pressure that they need to slip past, and they do put a lot of pressure on Clark here. Fiorito is very close indeed as they now head down again, and they have run up to ABR guy Carlos Costa. Carlos Costa leading the pack now, and going wide. They're feeling the pressure, and that means that Clark can't slip past, but that means that in turn now Fiorito has a chance. He's all over Clark's back. He's trying to find a way past desperately, but there simply is no way. Nope. Unless your opponent makes a serious mistake, there isn't. And now Clark, look at that. He is forced to take the curb on the inside because there's so much pressure by Fiorito. He was forced into a very late break point, and now Fiorito moving out, and maybe he can get close enough before the last or the second to last turn. Lignani, almost sliding off the track there. And Fiorito trying to get as close as possible as he can towards the exit, but that has gone wrong big time here, I think. Don't know how much speed he can take out onto the straight. I think that Fortunato knows very well where the strengths and where the weaknesses in this duel are, and Clark overshooting the breakpoint big time as both Fiorito and Lignani slip past. I think that the ABR Costa was on the brakes a little early, that Clark didn't quite know for a moment what to do. He missed his breakpoint, he overshot his breakpoint, and that, and now one of the Fiorito is off. All the joy he must have felt at moving past is gone in a minute as he's off the track in that downhill section, and he's back. He's down to 17.8 even. Clark in 16. Stefano Lignani is the big winner of all of this. He's up from 17 to 15, and he is now pursuing Carlos Costa for AB Racing. And we are well advised to move to 2, 3 and 4, because Ben Tusting is still in the lead, but the battle for 2, 3 and 4 is on big time. It has become a battle of 3 absolutely equal guys out here tonight at Most. It's Risto Capet in 3, Gregory de Graef in 4, and Göran Johansson in 2. And playing to the various strengths of their various cars. They are at different speeds in different parts of the track, but at the end of the day they're all very, very, very close, and it looks as if they're pretty much running Ben Tusting's speed, because Tusting is not really having the same kind of advantage that he had like 10 laps ago. They are well within sight of him, so even though these 3 are fighting, they're closing in on Ben Tusting, so it's going to be a really interesting battle for the top here in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. Miko tells me Ben is cruising, but well, let's see if that is really the case here at STC Race Most. And well, cruising is all very nice and well, but it's always good to have a bit of security against anything unforeseen. Especially when it comes to lapping the other cars. There is trouble waiting for Ben Tusting, and so he is well advised to not cruise too much, but to try and gain on Göran Johansson, who is putting in a really nice performance tonight again for his team Guppklubben, and who is not able to break away from Risto Capet, but he is definitely closing in on Ben Tusting. And Mikko tells me that there's a big difference between Koenigsegg and Corvette in fuel consumption, so he says it's going to be really down to pit stops among these four here because they're so close to each other. Just watch number 3 and 4. Risto Carpet against Gregory de Graef. De Graef is really close now to Carpet and liable to make a move in not maybe this passage here, but once they're out of the fast straight, he might try to put some pressure on Carpet because Carpet has to let Johansson go a little now, and de Graef is really putting the pressure on Risto Carpet here. He's showing himself in the mirrors, saying, look here, I'm following you, I'm, well, maybe just a tad faster, and he is touching him now in the chicane. That of course leads to Carpet not having the best of exit speeds here, and so Gregory de Graef can stay close indeed. It's right hand and then left again. Very close racing by de Graef as they head towards the hairpin. And let's see how Risto Carpet can get out of the hairpin, because that seems to be very crucial indeed for the next couple of turns, both of them with an absolutely excellent exit. Well done by de Graef, well done by Carpet. Approaching now the two left-handers. First one here, de Graef with a bit of trouble, a bit too far out for my taste, but on the grass, so Carpet gains just a little. Now the second one, the much slower one, Carpet has to, well, do one or two movements there to stay on the right line. And now for the third one, both of them cut. Both of them cut again as they head out. And yes, very much in control, both of them. So it looks as if de Graef can play this game for a long time, and it looks as if Carpet is quite sure of what he's doing here, trying to keep Gregory de Graef at bay. But it also looks as if these two lose a little time in the fight as Johansson is able to slip away. Okay, Mikko tells me Ford GT or Martek is another one of the bad top speed cars, and let's go to 8 and 9, because there we have a Martek, that is Andreas Löffler for the Black Rebels, fighting a Zonta, Pagani Zonta, that's Dino Paolini for Waterblue, and they are close indeed, and with Löffler having the slower top speed, there might be a fighting chance for Paolini to surpass. Is a Zonta, Pagani Zonta, another? Haha, I noticed that. Yeah, why on earth did we pick it? No, we picked it because in the turns it is really lovely. So Paolini here taking huge advantage of the good handling of the Pagani Zonta in the turns, and following Andreas Löffler, who is very much defending here against the water blue opponent. Paolino gets very close as they head towards the final two turns. It's the right combination. Ooh, does he? And Mikko tells me maybe Löffler has some engine problems, and that maybe leads to a slow top speed on the straight. We don't know. We can't see into his car, and we don't have any information, of course, from him. But right now we see that under braking there is a lot of either spray or dust picked up or produced by Andreas, but he does have a fine exit out of T2 there, out of the chicane, but he does have Paolini still very closely following him. And look how close they are. Paolini very close. He's trying to make a move now, I can tell you. He's left, he's right, and Löffler is all over the place trying to defend as they go downhill. Paolini, nah, he's not making a move there. It would be very unwise indeed. He's trying to push Löffler into a mistake, that's for sure. He's very close in the brake zones. He's a bit at a different line, so in case anything happens, he is indeed safe. And he's making Andreas Löffler take the best out of his Martek, make the most out of his Martek GT40 here, as they now head towards another double right-hander, which will close this lap for the two of them. And Paolini into the pits, which means we move to position number 12 and 13. Because there we have Wesley Hartog, a Flying Dutchman development, closely, very closely following Kenny Persson of Gubbklubben UD. And if we look at where they came from, Persson came from 12, Hartog came from 9. So Persson actually slipped past Hartog one way or the other. Okay, it's Babic, and Miko just tells me that Krzysztof Babic, my teammate from Team Blue Flag, has just exited the pits, so that, if I look at my watch, points to a two-stop strategy for Babic here at a damp moss track. But Persson and Hartog, I suppose both of them have not been to the pits yet, and Hartog is very, very, very close exiting here. It's the same place we saw Paolini and Löffler fighting just a lap back. It seems to be a place where you can lose a lot, where you can gain a lot, and bit insecure here by Persson, taking the curb just a little bit too much, but now a very nice braking into that next passage, and he's well advised to stay on the right hand side of the track to not let Hartog make a move on the outside. Now across the curb, both of them, and out onto the straight with that really nasty little kink there that one is liable to misjudge, and approaching the final turn now. And my count should be turn 18 that they're going through now, and then 19 next, where it really is important to get a good exit speed. And Persson doesn't, he is all over the place, he's sliding, and Hartog now has a much better exit. He's trying to move past Persson. They are approaching the brake zone, of course the wrong way round if you consider Hartog's position, but Persson moves back. Persson actually lets Hartog have the position here. He's not fighting with all means available. He's not banking his luck on a very late breakpoint. He's letting Hartog slip past. So Hartog is now up to 10 and Persson is down to 11. Cameraman, please go to 15, 16, 14, because there is the closest fight that we have on the track at the moment. In 16 we have Dinka Andre in the black version of the water blue Pagani. In 15 we have Carlos Costa for AB Racing in the yellow and black livery, and in 14 we have your teammate David Clark for the Game Racer Flat Out Club for the junior team, and these three are at it full throttle. They're all over the place, they're touching, they're sliding, and they're having a great fight here at Most tonight. So David Clark goes into the pits. So that leaves Dinka Andre struggling to get past Carlos Costa. Carlos Costa is using all the means at his disposal. He's taking what I would call very defensive lines indeed as they go into turns, but he manages to stay ahead of Dinka Andre. Andre now trying to get a good exit as they get out of this chicane, and indeed he is very fast out, Andre he is, but he must remain behind the Celine, must remain behind AB Racing's Carlos Costa as they head into the first of the combinations. Left-hander, right-hander, slide, slide, slide. Now get your break point, it's about here for the hairpin, and out they go. Stopping to talk here because I was watching the exit, but both of them had a very nice exit indeed. And now downhill they go into the first of the left-handers. Don't touch the curb too much. Out they go. Oh, and Andre loses it. Andre is out. Dinka Andre crashes there. He loses it as they go out of that turn number 11 and head into 12. I hope that the Pagani Zonta has taken friendlily to this exit. It looked like a mighty run up the embankment there, up the little green hill on the right-hand side, and then down again. I couldn't quite see whether they actually touched the wall or not. I suppose he didn't, but it must definitely have broken his rhythm, and that means Carlos Costa, for now, is safe and free to go on his way. And talking to Mikko and relaying his answer to you, Mikko, it looks as if we have 2 pit stop strategies as well as 1 pit stop strategies. Don't you think so? Okay, Mikko tells me that these tires will last so long, you really should only go for 1 pit stop. Well, in that case, we've seen some very, very early pit stops, and let's see how that plays out. De Graaf in pits, he tells me, and let's see where we put our camera. Lots of action in the pits, Mikko says. Yeah, Bosse Jonasson also moving into the pits, De Graaf moving out of the pits again, Tusting in the pits as well. And so let's go to position number 1, to Risto Carpet, because he is the new race leader. And finally, with all the opponents gone, it might be time for Risto to put in some really, really fast laps to gain some time there, because for once he can really do the speed that he wants to do. There's nobody he has to defend against, there's nobody he has to reach, and in Formula 1 racing we would say there's clean air. So let's see if Risto Carpet can make the most out of this situation. If he can stay out 2 or 3 laps. Göran Johansson has passed Ben Tusting in the pits. Now that indeed is amazing news, and I wonder how Guppklubben do this. They must have had a very tight fuel figure there, so let's hope that Göran Johansson has enough fuel towards the end of the race. So Mikko tells me it's down to the Corvette's fuel consumption, which is way better than the Koenigsegg, so it seems that this is the advantage tonight here for Göran Johansson. But we know Ben Tusting, he is definitely going to fight back, and he's definitely going to try and push and try and catch Göran Johansson. But we've seen that Johansson under pressure is just like Johansson without pressure, just very, very safe, very clean. Risto Carpet is still staying out here, and I really wonder where he will get back in, because if he pushes now, if he does have a pretty light car, he might be able, as I said, to put in some good lap times here if the tires are still good, and Mikko tells me that under these conditions they should be fairly good if the setup is stable, and why shouldn't it with flat out? And so he might be able to do a couple of fast laps now, gain some seconds, and then come back out of the pits, maybe in 1 or maybe in 2, but at least closer to the top than he was before. Yeah, Mikko's not quite sure, he tells me. He tells me that with the fuel consumption of the Koenigsegg being what it is, Risto is liable to pick up some more fuel, but let's see. It might just figure out, because it's totally unobstructed for him now. He's running up to some blue flag moments. De Boer in the pits, Mikko tells me. Thank you very much. And Carpet is now running up to some blue flag moments, but the guy he's about to pass is one of his teammates from the Game Racer Flat Out Club, so that shouldn't be a problem. And I really wonder where we will find him as the pit stops are over. Yeah, Mikko tells me that we should just wait and see to what happens here to Risto Carpet. We just have to make sure we catch him the moment he's in the pits and catch him the moment he exits the pits, so we can show you where he came indeed back on the track. It also looks as if the Chorus Online players are out for a long time, because we have Fortunato Fiorito in position number 4, and that's up from a grid position 16, so he must still be on his first set of tires and on his first amount of fuel. And we have in position number 6 Stefano Lignani. So both of the Chorus Online Audis also take the same kind of strategy that Risto Carpet is taking in one, staying out a long time, trying to put in some really fast laps as the car gets lighter and lighter and lighter, and then trying to capitalize on that. But the other ones are out on fresh tires, so that might be to their advantage. And at least on my screen I can see none at all white lines behind the cars. So if the track was damp, which I still think it was at the beginning, it is totally dry now, and they should definitely then be in for a dry tire pit strategy. No question about that. And Carpet has still stayed out. We'll come back to him. Mikko tells me Carlos Costa exiting the pits, missed the first turn, running straight, but it seems to be that there's no damage whatsoever to his ride. Risto in the pits, so that's where we should be. Ken Bell, no, Ken Bell stays out. I thought I saw Ken Bell into the pits as well. But no, he's staying out. He's staying out. And so let's see where Carpet comes back on the track. Göran Johansson still shows as number 2 on my screen. He's now approaching the last 2 turns. He's through the first, and he is through the second at this point, and Risto Carpet is still in the pits, so Johansson will definitely pass him. Definitely, he is passed now. Johansson is our new race leader, and Carpet is losing position number 2 to his teammate Ben Tusting, and Jakob de Boer is passed as well. So Carpet is actually losing a position in the pits. He was at 3 before, he's down to 4 now, and Fortunato Fiorito, who was in 5, is now into the pit. Lignani stays out, so that's an extremely late pit stop for Lignani. He is now up to 4, and Carpet exits. Carpet exits in position number 5. Probably quite mad at the Koenigsegg and sending an email to the Koenigsegg guys saying, come on, you must work on that fuel consumption, it's a shame. And he really has to struggle now to get back into the game, and he does have Stefano Lignani in front, who came from, let's not forget, grid position number 19, where else Carpet came from 3, and who still has to do his pit stop, but nonetheless, they're racing for a position now, they're in the same lap, so he first has to get past Lignani before he can really take up speed again. So that's going to be a huge problem for Risto here. Jakob de Boer is in 3, Ben Tusting is in 2, and Göran Johansson is in position number 1. So congratulations to Gubbklubben for a fantastic pit strategy, and congratulations to Göran at this point for a very safe and extremely fast race again. Haven't seen even 1/100th of a mistake from him, just clean lines all the way from here to Mexico. Or maybe Stockholm even. Rather than Mexico. So cameraman, tell me, while nobody else can hear you, are we following Risto in 5? Makes sense, because he is in fact getting closer, very close indeed, to Stefano Lignani. And into the brake zone here, and Lignani on the used tires, while Risto obviously has the fresh ones, and already he's making a move. Ooh, he touches Lignani. Lignani tries to stick to his line. Risto tried to slip past on the outside. That didn't work. And let's hope that Risto can now just bide his time, not make a rash move, but rather stay cool here as they approach the hairpin. Lignani sliding into the hairpin, sliding out of the hairpin, and that's enough. That's enough for Risto to slip past. That was the opening he was waiting for. Well done. Risto Carpet into position number 4, Lignani in 5, and he probably knows better than to make any hazardous move now. He's a pit stop down, so yes indeed he's racing for a position, but no indeed, if you look at the field without the pit stops, he's probably down 5 or 6 places. But still, absolutely fantastic show here by the Italian team, picking a different pit strategy and making the most of it. Very well done indeed. And we see Gregory de Graef in the Martec GT40 of Black Rebels with the star design, approaching these two, approaching Lignani, who is now not moving into the pits. No, he's not. And as they go out onto the start and finish straight, you can see the gap. There's a huge gap already between Lignani, who seems to be really struggling here with the Audi, both with the top speed and with the used tires, and between de Graef. And between Risto Carpet. And de Graef in fact moving, zooming in on Lignani very quickly, and he needs to get past just as quickly as Risto has if he wants to follow Carpet. So down towards the hairpin they go. This looks like a replay just with a different guy approaching. Let's see what Lignani does. This time he is taking the utter defensive line, but maybe it was too defensive. De Graef moves past him, they both move on to the next bit, and if de Graef can make it stick, he is now on the inside. He even goes past. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic move by Gregory de Graef, and off the track he goes, but he can stay in control. It's enough to stay ahead of Stefano Lignani. It probably cost him just a little, but I think it was worth it. Don't you think, Mikko? It was worth risking just a little here to be able to follow Risto. And Mikko tells me that yes indeed, he also thought it was good for de Graef to make a quick move here, a decisive move, even if it meant going on the grass just a little, and he figures Lignani will be into the pits. Well, Mikko, you figured just wrong for this lap, because Lignani still stays out. Well, cameraman Mikko, with that fight over, I suppose it's time for a rundown of the grid from number 1 down to number 23, because everybody, I think, except for Lignani, has done their pit stop, so I think we can give you a pretty decent overview of where you find your teammates, of where you find the different guys on the track, just as Paolini here slips past Lignani as well. So we're at 1, he tells me, and down we go. Göran Johansson, after a fantastic pit stop strategy, is leading the race with about 35 minutes to go. And I suppose there's a very angry Ben Tusting following him. Let's look at the gap. Ben Tusting, here he is. Don't mix him up with the red Game Racer Flatout Club car. He is in the car passing now. And he is on his way to try and catch Göran Johansson, who overtook him, who stole his lead there in the pits. Always the worst thing, really. One of the worst things that can happen to a player or a driver in real life, because there's really not much you can do. You're sitting in the pits, you're waiting, and boom, the other guy goes past. Just annoying. And then we go to position number 3. We have Jakob de Boer here, who has just leapt one of the Sonic players. Jakob de Boer with a very, very steady race, up from 5 on the grid. He has moved to position number 3 in the Corvette, and the Corvettes seem to have a very strong day again here at Most. In position number 4, Risto Carpet, running up to AB Racing's Carlos Costa, about to blue flag him, about to overtake him. So that's not a fight for position here. Risto Carpet, in fact, trying to make up lost ground on Jakob de Boer. Gregory de Graaf in position number 5 for the Black Rebels. And also running up to a blue flag event, and in this case with a blue flag player even, with Christoph Babic, who is in 23. Then in 6, Dino Paolini for the... Yep, there was a disconnect in the background. We saw one of the Gubbklubben players. Let's hope it is not Goran Johansson. That must have been a black screen moment then for poor Bosse Jonasson. But we're doing the rundown. In 6 we find Dino Paolini, and let's see if we find Bosse Jonasson. We find Stefano Lignani still out and still not going into the pits. This is starting to look very, very brave indeed. Lignani still out on his first set of tires and is just relishing. Coming from 19 and being in 7, it must feel absolutely fantastic. So Stefano, enjoy it while it lasts. He's 5 seconds off the pace, Mikko tells me, and he is mightily in the way of Kane Lasky, who is about to overtake him. So let's stop the rundown here for a moment, watch this overtaking maneuver that's about to happen as Lasky moves on the outside. Lasky draws back in the last moment, not to make a crash, as Lignani takes full advantage of the race line. And now Lignani is running a little wide, Lasky is running much tighter. They're approaching that... and Lasky's already passed. Look at that. That must have been a nice exit there by Kane Lasky. So he's passed. He's up in 7, while Lignani is down to 8, followed by... and there he still is, lucky guy, Bosse Jonasson. We saw his car stalled in the background just a lap ago. Must have been a black screen for him at that point, but luckily it was only some packets getting lost somewhere online. But Bosse Jonasson is still here with us at STC's Most event, and he's still in position number 9, followed very closely by 10, Andreas Löffler. So that's a nice fighting group for you here. We'll definitely come back to that. And 11, also in the fight, Martin Kreinbrink. So these 3 are actually fighting for a position here, and it's a very narrow fight. And we see Lignani going into the pits there on our right-hand side. So big round of applause for Stefano. You showed us some fantastic fighting, but I think finally the tires, the virtual ones, must be completely, utterly gone. Löffler here with a bit of a slide in the chicane. So Martin Kreinbrink is now very close indeed. Position number 11 goes to Wesley Hartog for Flying Dutchman Development. Sorry. And just trying to see where he was on the grid. He was in 9, so he's down 2 positions. In 12, we find Kenny Persson of Gubbklubben UD, one of the many Apollos here on the grid, one of the many Gumperts. And Persson was in 12 on the grid, so he should be happy. He's followed closely by the second of the Torrent guys, Matthias Klein, in 13, and that is exactly where he starts. So these 2 actually have taken up their grid positions. They've been separated, but they're back in action here together at Most. Then in 14, Fortunato Fiorito, staying out for a long time, has paid off for him. He's up from 16 on the after qualification on the grid, and he's up to 14. In position number 15, there's a huge fight just as we go there, so lucky us. David Clark of Game Racer Flatout Club is defending for all it's worth against the second of the Waterloo. That's Dinka Andre. Dinka Andre putting the mother of all pressures here. And Clark succumbs to the pressure. Clark goes off the track a little, and he's now in front of the race leader, so he must let him pass. He decides to take the grass, and he's back on. That cost him at least 3 seconds. all of that action there. So, ooh, dear oh dear. David Clark in serious trouble there. Dinka Andre slipped past after 1 or 2 little touches, and David Clark is down to 16. But that's still 1 position up from the grid. Then in 17 we have Björn de Haas, a Flying Dutchman development, also up 1 position. Going down the straight into the brake zone for the first chicane, not so far away from David Clark actually. In 18, haven't seen him at all this evening, Pedro Luro for Sonic, who missed the last 2 races but decided to field one of the red and white Martecs for tonight. Great to have the Sonic back on the track. Pedro Luro for Team Sonic Racing here tonight at Most, taking home some points in position number 18. But that, I think, is a default skin, at least on my screen, but it's rather close to their original black, white and red livery, which I must say looked much better than this one, the race room livery supplied by Simbin. So we go to 19, Carlos Costa of AB Racing. He is down, I think, a lot to where he was on the grid. Yes, he was in 14, he is down to 15, mustn't be happy at all with the evening so far in his black and yellow Celine for AB Racing, and at the moment following either De Grief or Loeffler. And then in 20, Per Acterius, who's about to be lapped by one of his teammates. He's for Gubbklubben UD, of course, and we see a very close fight there between De Haas and Loeffler in the background. In 21, the man who shredded his tires big time, Stefano Legnani, didn't quite pay off the way he wanted, obviously, because he's down from 19 to 21. Then in 22, we find Ken Bell of Game Racer Flatout Club, taking his Koenigsegg here through the last turns and out onto the start and finish straight. And in 23, not so far away, Krzysztof Babic of Blue Flag Racing. And that is the last car that is on the grid. We have lost Theo de Bruyn, and both the Portuguese teams, so AB Racing and Sonic Racing, only had 1 car on the grid tonight. So that's your 3 players not on the grid. But let's move to that fighting group there. I think it was up in, let's see, 9 and 10. Yes, indeed. Martin Kreinbrink on the heels of Andreas Loeffler. And Kreinbrink seems to take it very relaxed. Well, it's not relaxed at this speed here at STC Most, but as relaxed as it can be, because he's not putting too much pressure on Loeffler. I think he's basically just waiting for the German to make a mistake, waiting for him to maybe miss his breakpoint somewhere, maybe have the Martec a little bit too much in a slide somewhere, and then Kreinbrink would take advantage of that. So he's not, I think, taking the extra, putting the extra pressure on Andreas, but just rather trying to see what happens. And then again, it might just be that both of them are running at their absolute top speed, so they're just equal. And neither of them being in a position to either take a lot of action here against the other, either defending or attacking. And now here's the move. Ooh, Andreas Loeffler very early on the brakes, much too early for Kreinbrink following him. And that sends Kreinbrink nearly into Loeffler in the brake zone there. Kreinbrink making a defensive move to the right-hand side so as not to touch Loeffler, but that lost him quite some time. Loeffler now going across the curb. This is not the fastest way to do it. And that Gubbklubben car in front is also for position, because that is Bosse Jonasson, still in 8 after his freeze a little bit earlier on. His PC, his line, and also the players seem to have recovered. So everything's fine again for Bosse Jonasson, but he can't really get rid of these two, even though they are in such a close fight. And Martin now again moving closer to Andreas, who is all over the place in the break zones. Very, very unstable Martek there, but he manages to keep it together. He manages to keep it together, and he manages even to make that little distance that he has won in that maneuver at the end of the start and finish straight, manages to make it stick. Look at the Martek, it's very, very unstable under braking. And Mikko tells me that the Martek is one of the rides here that you may even throw sideways into the corner. It'll be nice and easy as it gets out of the corner, rather than the Corvette, where you really have to be very, very careful and on the exit putting the throttle down. So that might explain some of Andreas Löffler's antics here as they go around Most. Martek is all over the place, especially if you compare it to these extremely clean lines of Martin. Now on exit again, Andreas Löffler is sliding a little, and if we look at the cars following these two, none of them is for position. Yep, it is indeed. Wesley Hartog is quite close, Mikko tells me. Yes, indeed. I just thought I saw an AB Racing car there, but must have been just a trick of the eye. So, Martin Kreinbrink still trying to find a way past Andreas Löffler, and yes, Wesley Hartog is indeed moving closer to this pair. Yep, Mikko tells me, of course, this is an FTD guy approaching, so there's little chance that he will be in a fight. And now we have Kreinbrink making another attack. At the end of the straight, he's moving out. It's a picture book example of an outbraking maneuver. Andreas turns in, but Kreinbrink manages to stay steady, and he manages to make a very, very good exit there. Fantastic maneuver by Martin Kreinbrink. Andreas possibly didn't quite see him on his right side, moved into him, but Kreinbrink stayed his course, very steady indeed, absolutely well done, well executed, took advantage of the higher speed on the straight, and I think he should be able to move away now and maybe even catch up with Bosse Jonasson. There are two lapped cars now. Kreinbrink is well advised to slip past very quickly indeed. It's Christoph Babic and I think Ken Bell. Babic moves out of the way. And let's see what that Game Racer Flat Out Club Koenigsegg is doing. We have Löffler very much on the brakes there. Yes, stays on the outside as well, so both the contestants here for position can slip past. Ooh, nowhere to go there. Nothing to be done. Just really made Andreas miss the apex, but what can you do? You can't really disappear into thin air, so Kreinbrink with a little bit of advantage here, just had the luckier of the overtakes and is now out onto the straight and following Bosse Jonasson. And look at the gap here already between Kreinbrink and Löffler. Remember, the overtaking maneuver was at exactly this place where Kreinbrink is now, just a lap ago, and we have Andreas something like 2 seconds down already. So I suppose Kreinbrink is now quickly going to close the gap to that other Corvette. Hartog actually now running up to Löffler, so rather than following an FD guy, he now has to defend against the next FD guy, and we stay with Andreas and we stay with Wesley because this is a very nice close fight. Again, just a lap after he has defended against the last defense, Andreas Löffler here has to defend against Wesley Hartog of Flying Dutchman Development. Sliding again as they move out of T11 and now into T13. Again, very unstable under braking. Oh, and Hartog is extremely close now. He's trying to take as much speed as he can through that kink to maybe make a move. No, he can't definitely make a move there, but he is well advised to find a good exit now. Loeffler far too far outside on the curb. That means that Hartog can already move close there as they head out of the turn. And now he is well into the slipstream, and he's staying in the slipstream. Loeffler going to the right, moving to the right to defend. He's not going to make the same mistake twice. And Loeffler very, very late on the brakes. Look at that virtual dust there emitting from his brakes, from his tires. That means he was extremely late on the brakes, and that of course makes the tires suffer. Not only in real life, but also in sim racing. This is not the best way to treat your tires. Ooh, Hartog nearly running into Loeffler here. Loeffler in some trouble there, always in that turn. He does make an extra brake that not all of the other guys do, and they very nearly run into him. Both of them followed by Babic, by the way, a lap down for Team Blue Flag, who I think has just managed to get rid of the last position. Miko tells me while the camera stays with that fighting group to check out top 5, and well, if cameraman tells me, who am I to speak up against him? Here's Björn Johansson in position number 1, Ben Tusting in position number 2, and if I look at the gap, he is definitely closing in, and he is trying to really push. He's taking the Koenigsegg to all different kinds of places. Jakob de Boer still in 3. Risto Capet still in 4, but a long way off Jakob de Boer and taking it much easier than Ben Tusting. And Monsieur de Greef in 5 for Black Rebel. So that's your top 5 for you. But I suppose the camera is still with Andreas Loeffler defending against Wesley Hartog, and Miko tells me nothing so far. My camera is back on the 2-2, and again they're approaching the hairpin, but let's see what happens this time. And Hartog is maddeningly close to Loeffler every time they go through that. And look at how much speed that cost them this fight here, because Christoph Babic, who is at least a lap down, can easily follow the pace of these two. He's not really dropping any on them. In fact, he's staying within viewing distance of these two, so that must mean that Loeffler is holding up Hartog big time. But all these Flying Dutchman guys seem to be very, very relaxed. Now Hartog is close indeed, but he is on the grass, and that means he loses every little incentive that he had. But now he is close indeed. He is very... Ooh, he's touching Loeffler, I think, or maybe drawing back there. Couldn't quite see it. And they're out onto the straight again. Hartog has to straighten up his Audi there to get some good exit speed, and that means he is a little bit too far away from Andreas as they move into the brake zone. Loeffler much early on the brakes, much hard on the brakes too. You can see no smoke at all with Hartog's tires. So, and now Hartog, ooh, Hartog, whatever happened there, I couldn't see it. Moving out of the chicane, Wesley completely, utterly loses it. He must have touched that bit of grey stuff there on the right hand side, which can be extremely slippery, and he moves into the wall, and that FDR Audi is now sadly beaten up, and Christoph Babic, a lap down, will be able to move past, I suppose. He's being a gentleman racer, he's staying behind, and maybe someone tell him that we have taken care here of the blue flag rule. You don't get black flagged for overtaking someone who is a lap up but then runs into trouble. But Babic stays behind, and now Hartog can move away, so no trouble there on that front. So yes, that was bad luck for Wesley Hartog. He seemed to be so much in control of that fight, so much the one putting the pressure on Loeffler, and now he is the one trying to play catch-up. So, Miko, I suppose we should go to 1 and 2 and just check on the distance between Göran Johansson and your teammate Ben Tusting. Mikko tells me it's almost the same as after the pits. I beg to differ just a little. I think Ben Tusting has made up about a second or so. I think he's a little bit closer, but it might just be that Göran was held up a little blue flagging or overtaking the water blue guy there who... Yeah, there's a lot of traffic ahead, so let's stick with these two for a moment and see what happens as they run up to that group of four, I think, who are ahead of them. And yes, Mikko reminds me that running up to a fighting group is always difficult for the guy in front, because obviously these guys are involved in their fights and they're not always fully aware of the situation, of what's going on, and then there can be trouble very, very quickly. So as race leader you have to be extra careful, whilst Ben Tusting is still a good way away. Of course, Gubbklubben UD making a nice way here for the other Gubbklubben guy, even letting the water blue guy slipping through. Don't know if he's a lap up as well, I should think so. And Göran Johansson now approaching the next two. That's Carlos Costa for AB, and that is one of the Torrent guys. I think it's the green car. Oh, sorry, no, it's one of the Course Online. What is the Course Online? It should be Fortunato Fiorito, I think, and in a very close fight with Matthias Klein. So let's hope that these two know what's coming from behind. Yes, just to make sure I was right, yes, it was indeed Fortunato Fiorito who has passed Matthias Klein, position 13 and 14. So these two are now running up to another Koenigsegg, but that is still a further lap down. That is Ken Bell, who is running at 22. At the moment, and Matthias Klein here in some trouble, and Ken Bell now about to let Ben Tusting move past. And Göran Johansson now only has Fiorito to pass here, and as he makes a very skillful way through these guys, all of them, either fighting for a position or trying to make the most out of their races, of course. And he's followed very closely indeed by that water blue guy who, as if fighting for a position, just stays there and manages to go the same speed. That's quite amazing, isn't it, Mikko? Let's hope that Göran Johansson shows the usual nerves of steel and lets himself not be impressed by that water blue guy there. For now, he's running a bit wide, so that gives Göran Johansson a bit of breathing space and a bit of time to approach Fortunato Fiorito. And it's Dinka Andre for water blue, by the way, for those of you interested. I just checked on my screen who we have there. And I also checked the rest of the field, all blue flaggers, 3 cheers. Christoph Babic has moved up to 21. I think about 10 minutes to go, but very difficult to judge from here. I just have my watch on, but I might slip off to the race control center in half a minute. Let's move to positions number 8 and 9. Mikko, because there we have 2 Corvettes, and it's a very nice image indeed. 2 Corvettes fighting for position. It's Bosse Jonasson of Gubbklubben, and it is, and both of them following Kane Lesky in 7. It is Martin Kreinbrink for Flying Dutchman in 9. And since this is a team championship, let me tell you about the standings at this point in the championship before the race. The Flying Dutchmen were in position number 1 with 188 points, followed by Game Racer Flat Out Racing with 171, and followed by Gubklubben in 3 with 147. So really these two are from the 3 top teams, and this is definitely a battle for the better points here for the team championship. So it's not only a battle between the individual players, but it's also a battle for trying to secure as many points as you can for your team. Yep, Miko tells me that at the moment I think it is, or he thinks it is Flat Out who will take home possibly the most points here, followed by Gubklubben and followed by Flying Dutchman. This would be great for the overall standings, because of course the viewers are always interested in close standings. The teams are of course always interested in getting away from their opponents, but of course for the viewer it's better if they stay close, and it would be great for the championship indeed. But Flying Dutchman still in the lead, and they should retain the lead, because they have Kreinbrink in 9, and they have in position number 3 Jakob de Boer, so that is a lot of points indeed. Flat Out have Ben Pasting in 2 and Risto Carpet in 4, definitely better than Gubklubben, definitely better than Flying Dutchman, and Gubklubben have Gunnar Johansson in 1, and as we see here in 8 Bosse Jonasson. So yes, that's going to be another close outcome here in the team standings. And Jonasson is under a huge amount of pressure here by Martin Kreinbrink, and we've seen Kreinbrink before. His tactics is to put the pressure on, but not too much, rather gentle, and then just wait for that mistake and then slip past. Sorry, Nico. Yep. Yep, it looked like a good slipstream, but it... Oh, and there comes the move! And he pushes Jonasson. I didn't see if they actually touch. I think he pushed Jonasson into a little braking problem there. But then, very gentleman racing indeed, he pulled back and tried not to hit him in the chicane, which would have been easy. Would have been absolutely easy, just hit him, nudge him, and then slip past. But no, he doesn't. He stays behind. Martin Kreinbrink stays behind. I also think, Miko, that the two of them didn't... Oh, and now Jonasson is off the track. That can happen as you go into that hairpin, because there's a little bump in the track, and then you... Instead of turning into the hairpin, your car just goes to the left-hand side. Happened to me. I thought it was just a dumb kind of mistake, but as one of the top players does it as well, seems to be just a problem there at that point. And Martin Kreinbrink is past. Good news for Flying Dutchman. While Bosse Jonasson loses it a little, is down to 9, and is now followed by Andreas Löffler, who, however, is a little bit away. Yep. So 5 and 6, Paolini against the Grave. Paolini. I keep on calling the guy Paolino. Sorry there, mate. Paolini had a bit of a problem earlier on, and I think most of the night here at Most he has been playing catch up, because he was on the grid. No, he was up and he was down in 11. So obviously he's made some good. Had some good pace here. It was Dinka Andre. Sorry, I mixed up the two water blue guys. It was Dinka Andre who was up in 7 and is now down to, I don't know what, 17 or 18. And he is the one who ran into some trouble earlier on. No, it was not... definitely not Dino Paolini, but he is, I suppose, faster than the Grave at this point. And while we follow the two, I quickly slip off to the timing to tell you how much time we have left in this game. So let me give you an update on the gaps with 3 minutes still to go. So the race should be over by 22:27 on my watch. Good on Johansson. 3 seconds, only 3 seconds ahead of Ben Tusting. He is indeed moving closer. Right now, Tusting has gained 0.5 of a second in one move. Then Jakob de Boer, 23 seconds down. Risto Capet, 31 seconds down. De Graaf, 55 seconds down. Paolini, 56 seconds down. And the last player still in the same lap is Wesley Hartog in 11. And we have 22 guys still in the race with Ken Bell and Christoph Babic 3 laps down. So that's your roundup of the time gaps, and yes, Tusting is within view of Göran Johansson. They still have Fiorito between them, and I don't think that in the remaining 2.5 minutes Tusting can still make a move, but he's definitely managed to close the gap big time. But I suppose, Mikko, that the camera is still with Paolini and De Graaf. Okay, so I think we should now go to the top of the grid so as not to miss the point when the race has finished, because it's only, on my watch, it's only 2 minutes to go before the race is over for tonight. Would mean 2 laps, yes indeed. But let's see, Göran Johansson. We see him here approaching the first of the left-handers, Fiorito in the back, a lap down, or 2 laps, I don't know. I think 1 lap. Yes, he's the first guy on the grid who's a lap down, the first of the guys. And then Ben Tusting, 3 seconds away, but 3 seconds can feel like 40 seconds in a situation like this, as time is definitely running out on Ben. Göran Johansson here approaching the 2 turns before he heads out onto the start and finish for what I suppose will be the last time for tonight. So he just needs to take it home from here, and let's follow him on his last lap. He's across the start and finish, he is still in the game, so that means we should have another lap to go as he moves. Yes, 40 seconds. 40 seconds, the timing screen tells me, is what we have left here, and Johansson is out onto his last lap through the chicane the last time, now into that first set of turns. Left-hander, right-hander, left-hander. Now keep it cool, Göran. Stay in control, don't let that victory slip away here with only a couple of seconds left. There is a lot of spray, a lot of dust, and we see that Wesley Hartog and Andreas Leffler had a bit of a coming together here. We have no idea what happened. We just saw them both off the track, but luckily for Göran Johansson, that was... oh dear, it looks like an engine failure for Andreas. Mikko Korkiakowski tells me on the phones. Luckily for Göran Johansson, that event was over by the time he got past, and luckily for him too, Wesley Hartog rejoined the track well in advance of him, so there's no problem there. Hartog now in front of Johansson, but still a lap down, I suppose, in position number 9. Göran Johansson. The last 2 turns, and it would be another win for the team Gupp-Klubben from Sweden. I think, guys, you can uncork the champagne at this point. Johansson out onto the start and finish straight. Down he goes, he flashes his light, and yes, indeed, the race is over. Ben Tusting brings it home in position number 2. Great race, just beaten by the pits. And Jakob de Boer. Jakob de Boer is in position number 3, and he's into the last turn here. He starts flashing his lights as he's heading out of the last turn. So he's celebrating already, zigzagging across. And Risto Capet in 4 brings home a fantastic team result for Team Game Racer, flat out. That should bring them a lot of points, should earn them a lot of points. Position number 5 is still Monsieur Grégory de Graaf for the Black Rebels, and still Paolini has found no way past. So as they head towards the finish line, Paolini out on the grass, de Graaf through the finish in 5, Paolini in 6. We have Kane Lesky in 7, approaching the last 2 turns. Great race for him, great race for Torrent. This will give them a whole lot of points, and I suppose they might move up 1 or 2 positions in the overall standings. Lasky in 7, Martin Kreinbrink in 8, and that is the last. Nope, Bosse Jonasson. Bosse Jonasson, I think, is the last of the guys still in 1 lap, and I am again mistaken because it's Wesley Hartog who brings home a sadly beaten Audi R8 here, flashing his lights as well. And now everybody is moving home. Race is over. The players go back to the pits, and I suppose we will maybe try and have them in our broadcasting cabin here. Mikko, will that be possible to have interviews? Okay, I think the problem is I can't get them to the channel because I can't enter the team rooms, but let's see what we can do. I'll be back with you in about a minute. One of the FD guys, it was
It's quite dangerous really when you both come out the corner and you're not sure where you're going to go, so you'd normally think you'd stay on the racing line, but I don't know, if that was the same incident, I don't know, or same spot.
Right, and as we can hear them talking in the background, already with me is second positioned Ben Tusting and also first positioned Göran Johansson, and right now I can see Jakob de Boer being moved to our channel, who we'll have to ask where he finished the race in, whether it was either position number 3 or a little bit further down the grid. I have P3, so brilliant, Mikko. We have the top 3 here with us. First of all, a very big congratulations to Göran Johansson for an absolutely faultless performance. Well done.
Thank you so much. I'm very pleased. I didn't thought this would happen in my life, I win STC.
How's that?
It was more. I don't think I did any mistakes at all on the whole race, and maybe that helped.
Yep, we saw every time we had you on the screen, it was a very clean line. It was 100% where your Corvette was supposed to be, and in all situations you managed to keep a very cool head. How do you do that?
Maybe it looks on the outside that I'm cool. That was not cool on the inside.
Okay, Mikko can probably attest to that even as a top guy, it's still very, very exciting out there on the track. Ben Tusting, another top guy, you lost the race in the pits, didn't you?
I did indeed.
You didn't? Where did you lose it?
I did.
Sorry, you did indeed.
I did indeed.
Sorry. And you were really fighting back. You were up to 3 seconds to Göran. And how many more laps do you think before you would have caught him?
I don't know really. At the end, we were basically the same pace, so I'm not sure. It's a bit annoying really that I lost it in the pits, because in the first stint I was a bit quicker than it seemed like, but I don't know.
Yep. You were really very much in control of the whole event, weren't you? You were pole sitter, you were leading from the start, you were pulling away from the others, and then when the pits came, it took like ages. You really must speak to those mechanics.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, we have Jakob de Boer with us on the podium as well for Flying Dutchman. Well done, Jakob. Thanks. And you came from 5. Was it also the pits that made you get past Monsieur de Graaf, or however did you manage to do that?
I took him in the pit stops indeed. Yeah, I was well. The first stint I was 8 seconds behind Gregory or something like that, and I could maintain that. And I was like, okay, well in the pits I'm gonna overtake him, and I did. So Risto took a longer stint than I did, so
yep,
I got him as well in the pit. So yeah, another podium.
Brilliant, another podium. And it's really lovely to see the top 3 teams on the podium equally shared. So that's going to be a nice spread of points in the overall standings. And I suppose we'll see all 3 teams moving to the next event as if they were the real winners tonight.
Definitely. It will be still a close championship. A lot of races to go, but ooh, boy. Yeah.
Very close indeed. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Mikko, for setting up a last-minute broadcast for tonight. I'm sorry the guys can't hear if he says, well, it's been a pleasure right now. He absolutely said it. And thank you, Jose and David, for setting up the whole event, of course. Thank you, David, for being in the pace car and starting the race absolutely perfect and taking care of all the other stuff. And thank you, Jose, for helping me here out and moving the players to the interview. Well done indeed. I couldn't have done it. And so there we are then. Hope that next time round, which will be Road America, we will have another race full of events on the grid and no events on the technical side. So this is it for tonight. Thank you guys for the interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys also, thank you for the last minute broadcast. Superb, really. Yeah. Superb job, really. Thank you.
Mikko says no problems, and this is me, your friendly voice, Eckhart von Glan, with an unusual STC broadcast saying good night for the night and see you next week at Road America.